Hey there, Taurus Ascendant. How you doing? So this is the Ascendant forecast taking you from the full moon in Aquarius on the 9th of August right the way through to the new moon in Virgo on the 23rd of August. Now, just to be really clear, this is designed using a whole sign Western tropical perspective. So if you're a whole sign astrology aficionado, this is going to be perfect for you. Now, if you're using Placidus, then you might choose to also listen to the Gemini ascendant one as well, because in your Placidus model, you probably have both Taurus and Gemini in the first house. So hopefully between the two of them, you'll get a really good sense of what's going on. So if you're new to this channel, my name's Louisa. Thanks for joining me, and thanks for joining me if you've come here before. What I want to do in this 2-week forecast from full moon to new moon is to really sort of examine what has been sort of like going on with a lot of energy. And what I really think this 2-week period is about is going from what has been revealed at the time of the full moon. I don't know if you've seen it yet, but I have done a full moon forecast, which could be really, really helpful. And coming up to this time of the new moon in Virgo, which is about refined. So it's from revealed to refined. I really think the revelations of the full moon are bringing out a lot of our mess, like loads of our mess. And, you know, in line with the new moon in Virgo energy that's coming up, I would encourage you not to give up on the sacred and the pure. In fact, I would really not give up on the thing that is really delicate and beautiful. You know, that thing that is absolutely speaking of your soul and your soul's intention. I really think that's important. So I've got three questions that hopefully by the end of this I will come back to and run through and hopefully answer in full. But this is really about exploring the unmasking that really takes place around the time of the full moon, the pressure that you felt from the full moon to the new moon to kind of purify your life in some way, and then the rebirthing process, you know, with the new moon in Virgo. Now, I'm not going so much into the exact aspects and their meanings and so on and so forth. If you do want the full astrological scoop on, you know, the moon phase and all the aspects as they come up in the next 2 weeks, then I do recommend that you check out my full astrology scoop for that particular time, and you can follow the link to that. But, you know, this is really just about the forecast and how to make sense of it for you from your Taurian perspective. So these are the questions. Okay, so where has my mask been for survival? So wherever you kind of got this survival mask, I really think that's what's coming up with it, honoring the mess and the revelations of the full moon. You know, what would you prefer to express? Like, how can you be more truthful to yourself, I guess? Which, funnily enough, is similar to the next question. What truth about myself or my life has become impossible to ignore, and what would shift it? And so to me, this is the middle part, you know, the pressure to kind of purify your life. You know, once you see what you can't ignore anymore, and once you really see it, and I think the full moon is doing that. And then the third question, and this is in preparation for the new moon in Virgo, what small sacred act of cleansing and reordering could help me restore faith in myself? And isn't that beautiful? Like, restoring faith in yourself, I think is such an important question that we could all do with answering a little bit. Now, I've got 2 charts I'm going to be looking at from your perspective, the full moon chart and the new moon chart. So I'm going to go there right now. But before I do, just want to say a big thank you to everybody that supports this channel or is one of my members in one of my school communities. I really love and appreciate you. You know, you really do add a lot into my world, and from our interactions and emails and things like that, it really helps to shape my channel. I really appreciate that. And I love the fact that this is growing every week, every 2 weeks. You know, this is, you're all helping me so much. Thank you. So these are the big questions. We're honoring the mess. That's the big key. We're not kind of ignoring the mess. We're not pretending it doesn't exist. It's important to honor it, because in denying the patterns that are being revealed at the time of the full moon, you're really missing a trick. In many respects, it's keeping you in chains. And so this is about seeing everything as it is. It's a really sort of radical honesty sort of position here, but not giving up on your sacredness, on the dreams and the purity that you might have that you want to bring about into the world. So let's see what's going on. So the first thing that I really notice and this is the most obvious thing, the full moon is going in between your 4th and your 10th house. I should say, actually, because as I'm looking at this, I'm seeing Mercury retrograde down here and Pluto retrograde at the top, and their opposition. At the end of this forecast, I'm giving you a sneak preview of a Mercury retrograde. Actually, Mercury going direct again from the 11th. I'm gonna publish it on Monday, the 11th. But if you stay watching at the end of this video, you can go straight on and look at it. So it's a first look at it. So if you want to do that, keep watching. But anyway, this Mercury retrograde and Pluto opposition is pretty strong right across your 4th and your 10th, but also this full moon is, from your 4th and the 10th. And it's really bringing up the difference between your home and your career or your aspirations, so, in many respects right now, you want to be really simple. Like Mercury retrograde has really brought you back into self, really understanding the value of home, the value of the people around you. And the sun in this part of the chart is a real return to self. This is really kind of pulling you back to who you are. And yet there's so much pressure to pull you outside of your comfort. And yeah, there's that's really felt in a dynamic way. I do think that's going to set the cat amongst the pigeons for sure. Made worse by the fact that both Pluto and Mercury are also in a T-square with Chiron. That's big because Chiron is showing, those wounds that you can't quite touch. Those, it's like you've got a scratch right at the, somewhere in the middle of your back and you can't quite, I'm just trying to do it, actually I can, but there's an itch you just can't scratch. To me, this is Chiron, and he's in a very sort of private part of your chart, really showing that there's some very private, probably ancient, unconscious, possibly even secret, like you sense that there's something, but you can't quite see it. And so this Pluto and Mercury thing is really bringing up a lot of unconscious insecurities that you might have about yourself. And so I do think that as Mercury goes direct and starts moving away from Pluto, that's going to really relieve you a lot. It's going to feel a lot more comfortable straight away. But yeah, around the time of the full moon, it feels like, that sort of adage that people talk about, the pressure involved to turn a piece of coal into a diamond. I mean, I don't even know if that's actually real or even possible. Maybe it is. I always like to talk about things that I can really understand because I've done it myself. But that idea that there are so many loads of pressures that you might need to really crack you open and to create you as the diamond that you are, to me, that's really happening around the time of the full moon. And, it's interesting as well because we are heading towards the new moon. That will be, where we're ending up at the end of this 2-week period. But, you'll see this new moon is in the sign of Virgo. The next new moon on the 23rd, I think, of September is also in Virgo. So you've got one right at the start, one right at the end. And to me, whatever you're doing around this new moon, the themes are going to be replicated in September. But the September one is a solar eclipse. It's a very, very strong new start energy, but it's almost exactly in opposition to Saturn and Neptune. So it's to me, it feels like it's not a life or death situation. I don't want to over egg it. But to me, if you're going to create any change in your life right now or start this feeling of, oh yeah, this is fresh new start for me, this is the new moon in Virgo to enact it. Not that one, or at least unravel some of the patterns around this new moon in Virgo, because you'll really thank yourself for it, that you've unraveled some of these things before this one hits around the 23rd of September. So yeah. What I like about this new moon that we're heading towards as well is the fact that there's a finger of fate, or a yod, also like a finger of God, you might call it. And it's pointing directly at this new moon. This is so strong to me. To me, this means that this new moon is really just not a casual one-day event that kind of happens. You go, oh, it's the new moon, let's sit down and meditate. It's and it's an earth new moon. Obviously, you've got Taurus rising. So to me, this is a very strong new moon. This is a very deeply creative part of your chart. If you were wanting to conceive or deciding to have children, or if you've got things going on with your children, this is a really crucial time. This is a time to really kind of upgrade what you're doing to bring about the kinds of changes you want to see in your life. This is a time when you're probably getting to the nuts and bolts of what's working, what's not. Now, you might not be wanting to have children, but you might be wanting to birth something else. You might be wanting to kind of like bring about a new relationship, because the 5th house has a lot to do with new relationships. And, the feeling of bringing more joy into your life. Like, even if you just had the goal of, do you know what, there hasn't been enough joy for me recently. How do I live my life with complete joy and love and this, this feeling of being lifted up? That would be also a really great intention to hold. And I really think that what's going on around the time of this new moon is a new start, a really sort of clean slate, where, yes, things do still feel like you're getting pressure from the outside world. And most likely you're actually behind that pressure. Most likely you're thinking, I should be important. I should be more powerful. So I do think power is a really strong theme for you. And also there is this sort of unraveling coming in. Saturn is really showing you what you're wanting to ground, and also what lessons you're learning right now. And Neptune is really showing where you want to sort of expand in consciousness, in particular in a sort of a way of oneness, the desire to be a lot more about oneness. These two together, I think, is bringing about quite a meditative way of being, possibly this deep desire to learn to meditate and to learn about the soul, to learn about quantum science and all the mystic subjects and things like that. To me, you're on a pathway to power, whether you're doing it through the career or whether you're doing it through psychic means, and in terms of mastering your mind. To me, this new moon carries both of those themes with it. So whatever you're birthing, it sounds really quite amazing, really, really, truly amazing. So this is a really good time. If I go back to the full moon in Aquarius, you can see that there's these pressures between what you want to do at home and how you feel like you're needing to be out here and focusing out here, because if you don't, you're not going to achieve everything. But with these oppositions comes this need for balance. And I do think that actually, as you're coming up to the new moon, there's a lot more balance. I mean, Mars is still in this opposition. Let me just show you this opposition more clearly. At the time of the new moon, full moon, Mars is exactly in an opposition to Saturn and Neptune. And yes, he is still in that later on, 2 weeks later, but he's coming out of it. Which I think is helpful. I want to talk a bit about this Mars, actually, because Mars is in your 6th house, which is absolutely encouraging you to get moving on things. However, your 6th house is a Libra sort of home. It's a place of making your life work in almost a diplomatic way. Libra is a very sort of diplomacy is really important, and balance and getting everything just right for everybody and everything. So you may well be trying to balance your work, your life, your body, so that one of them is not much higher than the other. Maybe you're very good at equalizing the sort of energies that you put into the different facets of your life. I know I'm not. I'm home, family, family, work. And I'm either doing one intensely or the other intensely, and trying to get both of those. I'm imagining like this sound mixing desk. You've got these faders that come up, trying to get everything sort of equal at the same. You'll probably have a much better ability to do that. But Mars coming in here is really putting the wind in your sails and really wanting you to kind of get everything accounted for, not leave anything behind. So I actually think this is quite a good time to get things done, really great time to get things done. But the busyness is kind of taking you off this path of your inner learning. And, as challenges go, I have to say that opposition plays out a little bit more effectively in the 6th and the 12th house than other houses. It can be really quite nasty. So I think this is quite helpful. Where am I? Okay, so what I want to do is have a little bit more of a look through here. So obviously Venus is your ruling planet, and it would be absolutely remiss of me to not talk about her at all, because she's doing something really quite cool here. You'll see on the 12th, she's exactly in a conjunction with Jupiter. And she's also, throughout this week, she's coming into a trine with the North Node in your 11th house. And then as she moves out of this conjunction with Jupiter, and then at the end of this 2-week period, she's just out of her conjunction, and she's just out of her trine. Oh no, she is actually. I just need to draw that on. But you know, she's still. You could say that she's still working with this North Node energy. So there's this kind of magic, I think, with Venus and Jupiter. They're both the benefics, so they're both beneficial planets. They're seen as planets that bring about a load of flow, a lot of abundance, a lot of kindness and compassion and fun. The two of them put together are absolutely about creating good times and just a sense of ease and grace, I would say. They're currently in your 3rd house, which is very much about the community. And I always think of this as a place where we belong. This is like the community that we live in, that maybe our house is in and our family's in, and how you might go about your business. To me, this is a really beautiful position to have Venus in. You know, to me, it feels like you're learning a lot about your life through the other people around you. And the fact that they're both connected in a trine to the North Node is an indication that through serving your sense of belonging in your community, you're furthering your karmic aims. To me, it feels like whatever you're needing to work on in terms of like where your life's taking you right now. And, the North Node is in this part of your chart, the 11th house, for another 12 months, after this forecast. To me, the learning is in networking and friendships outside of the community. And so this trine from the community here and out into a much bigger remit of experience, to me, there's some big stuff happening for you. This could really have a great effect on your career, I think, given that Venus she's really good she's like a social lubricant. Like, she really helps things to work out nicely. And in her conjunction with Jupiter, I think you could meet some really great, fun and powerful people. Like, Jupiter does have power actions for sure. And so to me, it may well be that when you're in your community feeling that sense of belonging, I really would concentrate on feeling belonging, because if you're not feeling belonging, you might not get the right opportunities showing up. I think the more you can kind of belong somewhere and belong to people and feel that sense of camaraderie and companionship, new intel is coming. It's like your reactions to these people are the things that are going to move your karma on or move your life on significantly in terms of, broadening your networks. And of course, that's going to have a knock-on effect in so many different ways. So I see this coming up right the way through to the new moon in Leo. And this is really, really helpful. This is going to move you on a lot. So what I want to do now is just go back to those original questions and just double check that I've got them and that we can understand them together. So this is about honoring the mess, but not giving up on the sacred. So where has your mask been for survival, and what would you prefer to express? In terms of this, I really think the social and the sort of like career mask has been really playing like long and hard in your life. And I think that's the thing that's really sort of playing out right now, is maybe that like to be good at a career, to do really well at a career, you might have to have a mask, or to do really well at a career, you might need to step out of the house a bit more. All these sort of beliefs that you've come with, maybe you learnt it from your parents. To me, it feels like being good at your career is quite a separate thing to being good at life and to feeling that sense of belonging. Maybe being good at your job gives you a different kind of belonging, but it's not necessarily the belonging that you're wanting. So I think that might be one of the masks that you've had for survival, is that we have to wear a mask to be able to get ahead, that we have to kind of put up with being separated from our family, being separated from our community to be able to do well. And that the people that do well are doing it because they've kind of cut off from the past. To me, I think you would prefer to express a future that involves your past, that involves the people in your life right now and involves the community. So to me, I feel that one of the things that you might want to drop is the beliefs that having a career needs to be hard, and that it needs to be challenging, and that you need to separate from everything that's good. Anything that's kind of encouraging you to separate from what has given you the goodness in your life, I think is not a truth for you. So that might need some examining. There's a lot of great stuff coming from the people that you know. What truth about myself or my life has become impossible to ignore? Well, I think that this is it. And what would shift it? Well, I think what would shift it is actually embracing your local community in a stronger way, and not being afraid to talk to the people that you feel the greatest sense of ease and companionship with. And also new people that come in that have a really sort of easy, graceful, possibly showy, possibly abundant way. The people that are really enhancing this Venus and Jupiter energy, which is all about the luxury of life and feeling really great. So people that seem like really charming and talented and have everything going for them, those kinds of people, the more you're kind of with that energy in your community, I think the more it's bringing in new surprising contacts. You never know when just going to the cafe every day, just for a short bit, to write some notes, to say hello, to wave everyone. You never know when that's going to somehow put you into a new way of being. And I've got several stories of when that's happened. My husband's an excellent third house person, and everything gets done from that position. It's actually really quite helpful. But you might have another form of community that you can reach people with, but really it's the community that's bringing you a much greater reach and much greater influence, which can actually have a much better effect on your career. So I just think, don't let your career be hard. What would shift it? Just getting back in the community. What small sacred act of cleansing and reordering could help me restore faith in myself? Ooh. I really like this. And it's not including your ruling planet or anything, but this is very cleansing. This Uranus, Pluto and Mars trine. Very, very cleansing. I love the fact that Mars is going into your 6th house. He's not comfortable in the sign of Libra, but he is going to help you get the balance back. I think that's his job right now. So it's not just about the career, definitely not. And it's definitely not all about the home. Mars is going to appropriate that effectively. He's going to see the balance. And Mars here, I think, can actually help you cut off anywhere where you're not in a balance that's going to work. Ask yourself, like, if you could ask your hidden Mars character, how can I have the courage to make the changes I need to make right now? I think Mars is going to help you. And yes, Mars is in opposition to Saturn and Neptune, which I think is forcing you out of this daydream just a little bit right now. It can be very easy to navel gaze and stay in the dream of what you're wanting to create. But I think Mars, actually the sacred act, even though it doesn't sound very sacred, I think you need the Mars cleansing and reordering, this like little shot of energy. That's what I see with Mars. And of course, Mars is beautifully aligned with Pluto and Uranus. To me, I think Mars can help you get your money sorted out and to rebalance your career a little bit, maybe roll it back in a little bit. So allow Mars to help you shape things a little bit. I don't think I've ever described him as a shaper before, but I am now. So to me, that is a real like place of sacred energy. And then as you're coming into the new moon, maybe some kind of sacred act to honor the fact that you are in a process of creation. You're recreating in a really, really personal way. Like I said at the start, it could have to do with like birthing children. It could have to do with a sense of greater intimacy you want with your partner. This is all about the like bringing more joy back to yourself, so you're not feeling like disconnected, like you're a head on a stick going to work every day. This is about filling in all the gaps and giving you a joyful grounding. So yeah, I'm going to leave that there. But like I said earlier, if you do want to know what's going on as Mercury goes direct and how you might handle that, it's really short, it's less than 5 minutes, then just keep watching. But anyway, lots of love to you, and catch you in another forecast real soon. Bye for now.